If you want to have the perfect start possible in Granblue Fantasy Relink, you are in the right place. As your fellow player who spent more than 1,000 hours in the game and wasted a lot of hours making mistakes, I will be giving 27 tips that will save you a lot of time and guesswork and help you avoid the common traps in the game. Like for example, focusing on the main story alone and reaching post-game content is the best course of action. This tip is so important that it will save you a lot of your precious time rather than wasting them. At the beginning of the game, there are a lot of side NPC quests that you can accept in towns. The game will also allow you to spam repeatable missions from the quest counter like what Monster Hunter titles do best. NPC quests or missions from the quest counters can be a huge distraction, I'm not gonna lie. So I highly suggest avoiding grinding at this point since you are trading your precious time for lower tier rewards or fewer currencies. When you reach the endgame, which is just 10 to 11 hours from the start of the game, you will be swarmed with tons of currencies, have access to the best farming spots, and easy access to the best sigils and weapons in the game. Your first main goal in the game is to reach the Veteran Skyfarer grade, which is after completing the first arc of the story or when the first credits rolled. This will allow you to access hard, very hard, and extreme difficulty quests. And general progression goes like this: Extreme Quest, Maniac, and then finally the Proud difficulty quest. To put it simply, extreme difficulty quests are where the grinding starts, and mostly Proud difficulty territory or quests offers the best farming spots and gear a player can have. Granblue Fantasy Relink offers unique characters to play with and to master with different playstyles, and Crewmate Cards are the key currency to unlock new characters. Focusing on main story missions alone will give you Crewmate Cards, but in a gradual sense, so it is wise to consider deeply which character you will use them on. If you want to test multiple characters, the simple solution is to turn off your autosave setting and save your game before you unlock a certain character. So if you don't like the playstyle of the character you unlock, you can just reload your save and try another one. You can also get Crewmate Cards as first clear rewards from missions in quest counters. And these are the only quests that I will try to clear one step at a time on the side while completing the main story. Different characters, different playstyles as mentioned, and you will be surprised how high the skill ceiling is to 100% master each of these characters. So it is a no-brainer to take advantage of the training dummy feature in the game. Sounds basic, but this is where all of the pro players started and keep coming back to. And you will be surprised how many hours we put into practice every single day. Access the training dummy by heading to the port and selecting the Grand Cipher as your destination. The dummy will be on the deck and will allow you to access regular practice, time attacks, and other useful basic information. Did you know that you can farm passively in this game? Yes indeed, my dear viewer, and it is one of the main features in the game. With a proper setup, you can effectively clear stages on repeat when farming key progression materials for your characters. At the end of each fight, you will be given the chance to set the mission on repeat, which will last for 10 consecutive runs. I know a lot of you are young professionals and parents, and life gets over gaming multiple times, so use this feature to your advantage. As a beginner, you will have a hard time auto-farming missions, but I am presenting this now so you can set it as one of your mid to end game goals. For you to do auto farming, go to your settings, head to gameplay, and set the difficulty to story. Once you have done that, turn the settings to full assist mode. This will enable you to do auto farm. I've covered a lot of auto farming guides on this channel, and I suggest checking this video out to master the basics and setups when it comes to auto farming. The guide is linked in the description, or find the video by clicking the card here. Character progression is everything in this game, and one of the things that slows down a player is overthinking elemental weaknesses. Elemental weaknesses in this game are more of a bonus, especially in the early stages of the game. You can beat the main story campaign without worrying about elemental weaknesses, and I've reached the hardest difficulty without changing my setup from start to finish. And you could be stuck figuring out the best team when starting the game to counter each element of the boss and end up wasting time instead of progressing. My advice to you is to just use your first killer team to progress without thinking about their elements. Let me be clear on this one. Elemental weaknesses are not useless at all. It's just that by the time you reach endgame and want to boost your damage with elemental weaknesses, the War Elemental Sigil can solve this issue. More on the War Elemental Sigil later on. When it comes to selecting your first main character, it can be an overwhelming task for a new player, especially if you don't have the prior knowledge about Granblue Fantasy. But if you are a fan of the Granblue Fantasy universe, please do pick any character you like, since every character is capable and there are no bad heroes in this game. And yes, some characters are stronger than the other, but it really boils down to your playstyle. But from the lens of a player with zero knowledge about the series, I will be suggesting Lancelot and Charlotta. Both characters are strong DPS but fairly easy to use. They are both speedy when transitioning to regular combos and dodging mechanics. Lancelot is known for his speed and dual blade combos with crowd control capabilities. This allows him to freeze bosses, which gives your entire party a window time to smack the enemy out of existence. Very valuable in multiplayer sessions. Charlotta, on the other hand, wields a great sword and surprisingly speedy as well for her size. Her kit is so beginner-friendly, allowing players to deal continuous damage by just button mashing. Charlotta's skill set also gives the player the ability to skip mechanics by face tanking mechanics with her invincibility skill. And I am not saying that these characters have no depth at all. In fact, every character is deep to master as mentioned previously. I just want to give you options to start with. As a veteran of the Granblue Fantasy universe, you pretty much have your dream lineup sorted out. But for a brand new player with zero knowledge about the series, I do have an idea lineup for you based on my hundreds of hours of testing. The short answer is, you can never go wrong with Twayen if you buy her early, that is, Eugen, Yodarha, and Zeta. I will not be diving into why these are the absolute best allies in the game or what we call AI companions in this video. I don't just select these characters because I like them, but these characters are so special that they can output the most consistent damage possible or have the most optimized AI behavior in the game. And for you to not get overwhelmed too much, I don't want to bombard you with real-world damage tests. So instead, check the dedicated video that I made covering this topic. This dedicated AI companion guide is where I crank multiple tests across all of the major bosses in the game and push these characters to their limits to determine the best AI companions in the game. It is easy to think that you need a dedicated healer in your lineup just like in any JRPG. And if you are paying attention, the allies that I just suggested are all DPS characters. And yes, my dear viewer, having a healer in this game is purely optional, even at endgame if you master game mechanics. Especially, you can use the Potion Hoarder Sigil and have access to more potions, which is more than enough for pro players to last in the hardest fights in the game. While I also understand that it is normal to struggle as a beginner, so if you want that extra comfort of having heals, then I suggest considering getting Cagliostro in your lineup. Without getting too much into the weeds, Cagliostro can be a substantial healer in your party. This gives the player the chance to receive party-wide heals and single target burst heals. On top of that, Cagliostro can give your party a damage buff, which is pretty useful in the early game. Now that you have the rough idea of your first members, you need to know which character to upgrade first. If you can remember, I suggested not grinding until you unlock the extreme difficulty and focus on the main story, right? This means that you will have limited resources in the early game, and all of these resources should go to your main character first. Like for example, your mastery points are shared across your characters, and you will get so little return if you use these points in all of them, compared to the value that you will get when progressing the mastery of your main character alone. This idea applies to weapon upgrades, sigils, and more. You will be clearing stages much faster this way because you do have full control of that main character rather than relying fully on your party members. Don't worry about the upgrades of your party members until you unlock your first legit farming spot, which I will also explain in a minute. And if you are getting value so far, subscribe to the channel. Liking the video and engaging in the comments helps me more than you can imagine. Join our Discord server and team up with other players and help us build our community. In the same vein, I suggested focusing on your main character first, right? And each character has different weapons to choose from, and you might wonder which one to upgrade since your resources are so few in the early game. I am giving you the peace of mind that you can use whatever weapon your character has in the early game and even upgrade them, since all of the weapons of your characters needs to be maxed anyway at endgame. There will be certain masteries tied to each weapon, and to unlock them, you need to upgrade these weapons to max level. The higher the weapon level upgrade, the more upgrade nodes it unlocks. Just use whatever materials the main campaign provides you and you will do just fine. We are still in the same vein of upgrades, and you should be unlocking Fate episodes whenever you can. Fate episodes are really important, and players can easily forget that they exist at times. You can access Fate episodes by simply heading to a quest counter and selecting Fate episodes. Fate episodes do provide significant stat boosts and even more sigil slots. You will be unlocking more episodes by simply leveling up your character and watching every episode to make sure that you are not leaving any upgrades on the table. After you progress significantly in the main story and complete it for the first time, your rank or Skyfarer grade will be upgraded to Veteran Skyfarer. As mentioned previously, you will then have access to hard, very hard, and extreme difficulty quests. But one particular quest stands out, which is the Assault Formation quest in extreme difficulty. This is where the game really starts and the grinding begins, since this mission is the first mission that will provide you with the best returns in terms of almost every currency in the game. So you will be putting a lot of hours into this mission. You will be drowning in XP, mastery points, Rafale coins, rupees, and technically sigils and Wrightstones and other materials. For the sake of the video, I will be skipping the actual farming process in Assault Formation, but instead, check the dedicated farming guide that I link in the description or find the video by clicking the card here. By farming constantly in this node, you will be reaching level 100 in no time, and this quest will help you solidify your staple team even faster for them to be ready for much greater difficulty quests in the game. And yes, my dear viewer, this is the time that you should be worrying about progressing the upgrades of your other party members aside from your main character. You will also be getting a lot of mastery points if you do this, so you will have the chance to even progress your masteries 10 times faster. This whole mission right here is the main reason why farming at the early game is not really advisable. Now that you have reached the first decent farming spot in the game, this is the time that you should be worrying about your sigils and Wrightstones. And one of the fastest way to get both of these is by taking advantage of Sierra's transmutation feature. This feature requires knick-knack vouchers in exchange for random sigils and Wrightstones. And it is easy to get knick-knack vouchers, especially if you follow my currency and leveling guide that I mentioned before this step. In just few runs of the Assault Formation quest, you will be getting a lot of excess materials, which are the machine units and high-level scraps from this quest. After getting dozens of the said materials, head to Sierra's shop and trade your high-level scraps and machine units for tons and tons of vouchers. For just 10 vouchers, you can get a random Wrightstones or sigil. At level 2 transmutation, you can get as high as tier 4 to 5 sigils. Even though it's random, you can easily stock high tier sigils since replenishing the knick-knack voucher is very easy to do, thanks to the farming spot that I just mentioned. This is the reason why you should not do any farming or grinding at the early parts of the game, since you are trading your time for getting low-level sigils that you will eventually replace anyway, compared to you spamming Assault Formation and getting high-tier sigils in a matter of minutes. Assault Formation is just your first major stepping stone when it comes to grinding. But what if I told you that there's even a better spot waiting for you down the line? If you want to have even better gains overall when it comes to XP, rupees, mastery points, and other currency in the game, nothing really beats Slimepede. You are only required to progress the difficulty to Maniac to have access to this mission or the Slimepede. Slimepede is hands down the best and fastest way to max out your characters, so don't hesitate to put the time into spamming this mission. Of course, there's a specific farming setup to gain the best amount of gains per hour, but you should be worrying about that in the late game. Just run this mission, kill as many slimes as you can, and you are good to go. You will be surprised how much progress you can achieve in a little amount of time, even without having an optimal setup. You will be getting the highest raw XP, rupees, and mastery points per minute, while also getting spell books that you can use to level up your characters aside from the raw gains. So reaching level 100 for any character is not going to be an issue anymore. Not only that, the Patalina glasses and the Bloom Sword hilts can be exchanged for knick-knack vouchers for more sigils and Wrightstones. And since we are on the topic of getting tons of Wrightstones or sigils, it is wise to keep your lower tier sigils and excess materials. And for the love of the game, don't ever sell them for rupees or money. Be reminded that excess materials and unwanted sigils can be traded for knick-knack vouchers in Sierra's shop. This nets more value than selling them. If you need a significant amount of cash when upgrading your weapons, for example, the raw rupees or money that you get from spamming Assault Formation and Slimepede is more than enough to get you going. Also, you can sell glitter crystals that range from small ones to clusters for additional rupees, which is the sole purpose of these materials. And you've guessed it, glitter crystals are abundant in Assault Formation and Slimepede. At this point, you already know how to farm massive amounts of mastery points and character levels, so there is no chance that you will not encounter the Overmastery feature. When a character reaches level 80, Overmastery will be unlocked in the process, which will provide your character with additional random stat bonuses. It is so easy to just use your hard-earned mastery points while trying to aim for better passives or additional stats than get not so good passives, resulting in a huge waste of time. Before you do Overmasteries, make sure to max out all of your regular mastery skill trees to 100% first. You will be unlocking new skills, better passives, and even additional sigil slots in this way if you max out your mastery skill trees, with zero RNG involved, especially the offensive and defensive mastery skill trees. The ultimate rule in here is to just use your Overmastery once and get any kind of passives and move on for now. After everything is maxed, then it is the perfect time for you to aim for better passives in Overmastery. And spamming the Overmastery level 3 can give you the best value out of the 3, just in case you are wondering. What is a perfect Overmastery to aim for, I hear you asking, my dear viewer? Endgame players are usually aiming for critical rate up close to 20%, normal attack and skill damage cap up close to 20%. And I am telling you as early as now that it will take ages for you to get something like this, but I do have a special trick for you that can lessen the grind. If you want more optimization tips when it comes to sigils, you might want to check out Sigil Synthesis. The highest sigil tier in the game is tier 5 with a plus sign. And it is a no-brainer to aim for tier 5 sigils as they are objectively the best sigils in the game because these sigils offers 2 effects per slot. But most of the time, the second effect is a bad effect that doesn't fit your build. And Sigil Synthesis allows you to combine 2 sigils and potentially create perfect ones. Like for example, I want to create an ultimate supplementary damage sigil with the same effect combined in a single sigil. It is possible because of the Sigil Synthesis. Keep in mind that there are sigils that you can synthesize, such as character-specific sigils such as Warpath sigils and Echo sigils. And you will be unlocking this feature as you progress in the game, and you can access it by simply talking to Sierra. One of the absolute best tips in the game is knowing that you can manipulate the results of your transmutations or transmarvels, even the results of your Overmasteries or Sigil Synthesis. I value my time the most, and I have discovered that I can easily reload my save to undo the results of the features that I just mentioned. Take this Transmarvel run for example. Make sure you have hundreds of Transmarvels. Go to your in-game settings and turn off autosave feature. Save your progress, do multiple Transmarvels, and have the chance to get the best and highest tier of sigils. Let's say you've used all of your charges and don't want the sigils and Wrightstones that you receive from the gacha. Load your save, do any quest that you can clear in seconds, which is in this example is a worried about Papa quest where I can just one-shot the boss and end the quest. After the quest, save your game and use all of the vouchers on Transmarvel once again. You will notice that you will get vastly different results this time. It is because the results of Transmarvels are predetermined and they can change when completing any type of quest. And I cannot stress how very useful this method is, especially when you are trying to aim for a specific sigil and Wrightstones or just avoiding bad luck in general. And yes, my dear viewer, it also works in Overmastery and Sigil Synthesis, which will allow you to control the results and cut the grind significantly, which is very nice. This method doesn't affect curio drops at all, so keep that in mind and more into curios later on. There are a lot of great sigils to aim for when maxing out your characters, and for the sake of this guide, I will just cover the absolute must-haves to give you general directions or goals on what to look for. Damage cap sigils are the absolute best sigils in the entire game that you should have. Damage caps determines the highest damage amount or ceiling that you can deal to your targets. So the higher your damage cap straight level, the more damage your character can output. To put it simply, regardless of how much you increase your total attack power by equipping attack power sigils or other attack type sigils, or even buffing your character with damage boosting skills, you'll be dealing the same damage over and over. For demonstration purposes, I prepared a simple chart, so you guys will have an idea on how damage cap works. To have more room or increase your damage ceiling, this is where you need to equip damage cap sigils. We have already increased the damage cap ceiling, so you can now equip more attack boosting sigils such as Tyranny sigils or Stamina sigils, which can increase your raw attack stat in general. You will ensure that you will be dealing the maximum amount of damage possible without cap limitations with your current build. While there are more advanced explanations surrounding damage caps, like Skybound Art's damage cap or skill damage cap. But for now, you only need to worry about the general idea of how to increase your damage cap. And how to know if your attacks are already hitting the damage cap, I hear you asking. Look closely at my damage in here as it faintly glows after the numbers are being shown on the screen. The glowing light is the key feature that signals if you are hitting the cap. If the number glows, the game is telling you that you are hitting the cap already. All of the locations listed in here will give you the chance to get a damage cap sigil, so you will know which quest to focus on. Another non-negotiable sigils that you need to aim and grind for is the War Elemental sigils. War Elemental sigil will convert all of your characters' damage type to deal elemental weakness on enemies. Obviously, this will greatly boost your damage per second by a long mile, and this is one of the reasons why I told you that you should not worry about elemental weaknesses even at endgame. But the hardest part is getting one because of its rarity, and these are the best farming spots depending on your progress. But what if you don't have access to late game spot? You are forced to rely on curio drops. Curios are loot boxes that provides random raw materials and even sigils, and War Elemental is one of them, of course. Any endgame player aims to optimize their supplementary damage sigils. As an early game player, getting one should be one of your ultimate goals as well. Supplementary damage trait, as the name implies, adds a possible bonus attack on top of your regular attacks. At level 45, it will give you a 100% chance to deal the said extra damage. This applies to skill as well, and the additional damage you get from it is separate from the damage cap calculation, making it one of the strongest sigils in the game. Just like War Elemental, Supplementary Damage 5+ is the best version of this sigil, allowing you to have 2 effects on one sigil slot. And just like War Elemental, you can get the regular version of the Supplementary Damage 5 and the 5+ from Curios alone. And the Behemoth quest in the late game is hands down the best spot to farm both War Elemental Plus and Supplementary Damage 5+. But expect a very long grind. A lot of players, including myself, sometimes forget that blocking and jumping are part of the game's combat mechanics, and mostly only focus on perfect dodges, especially when dealing with fight mechanics. There are a lot of mechanics that can be skipped by simply blocking rather than solely relying on perfectly timed dodge maneuvers. I know, I've been there. I was so addicted in mastering the timing, and it's a natural thing for us to do so. Keep in mind that your guard stance may be broken if you already block a lot of attacks, but it is so forgiving to the point that you can do it over and over. The same thing applies to jumping. There are a lot of mechanics in this game where you can simply jump to survive a certain mechanic. There are a lot of characters in this game that will give them some sort of a damage buff or will give them access to a strong combo finisher after completing a whole combo string. Completing a whole combo string will be challenging when dealing with speedy bosses, but the easiest workaround here is to just do a timely dodge whenever avoiding enemy attacks, and you can continue your combo afterwards. Dodging in this game does not cut combos, and you can continue the combo as soon as the dodge animation ends. Most of the mechanics in Granblue Fantasy Relink usually takes time before they resolve. Like for example, the ever common damage paddle on the ground. And there are a lot of bosses that do this kind of mechanic or even spam them in most cases. Look closely as before the mechanics resolve, it will show you this visual cue where a line is moving towards the end of the circle. When this line hits the end of the damage paddle, this is the only time that the mechanics will resolve. Use this visual cue if you are having a hard time pulling off your perfect dodge rolls rather than relying on your instinct. If you really love dodging attacks, I suggest taking advantage of the improved dodge sigil so you can increase your iframes during dodge rolls and even increase your dodge count. Whenever you activate 100% link attack damage window, all of your characters will enter this kind of heightened state. This heightened state will allow your characters to spam their strongest attacks as long as the link time is active. Like for example, Train here that can spam her arrow volley during link time, which can deal tons of damage during this limited damage window. Another example for you is Narmaya's butterflies are always at max count during link time. So it is ideal to spam her skills during this heightened state to deal massive amount of damage. So determine which special attacks of your character can be spammed during the link time window and massively benefit from spamming the said attacks. Did you know that you can score a full chain burst even if some of your party members do not have 100% SBA gauge? For instance, all of your party members can have access to their SBAs by just having at least one character with 100%, the second character has 90%, and the third one is at 80%, and of course the last one have 70% SBA gauge. The idea is that every time someone in your party does an SBA, the whole party will receive 10% SBA gauge, leading all of your party members have 100% SBA gauge and score a full chain burst at the end of the combo. Skybound arts can be a good way of dealing damage, but in endgame, it can also be a great crowd controlling strategy. This is possible by purposely breaking your SBA cast into 2 sets. So your party members will be pulling off 2 consecutive duo chain bursts, which will allow the free party members on the other hand to rain their full combos in between each of the SBA cast without the fear of getting hit. Since if you look closely, the boss is completely stunned when waiting for the Skybound arts animation to finish. These are just few combat tips that can improve your experience big time. But if you want to have the strongest party setup, this video will show you everything you need to know. And with that, I am the Samurai. Thank you for watching and I will catch you on the next one.